What's up, Zelda fans? It is finally time, the HMK brand analysis of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2's E3 2021 trailer. The one analysis that's gonna get you super hyped and super pumped for what is in store. Let's get right into the noise, but before we do, don't forget to like, share, favorite, and most importantly, subscribe to HMK for all the Breath of the Wild 2 content and theories, because we eating good this year. So, let's begin. Obviously, we start this trailer with a bit of red when it comes to the malice and, the malice energy that's coming out of Ganondorf, or the depths, which is really cool because the first trailer started off green, but this trailer, we're starting off red. There was a joke going around that the next trailer is going to start off blue, so in sequential order, we're going to have green, red, blue. Maybe, we'll wait and see. It's gonna be, I feel it's gonna be really hyped, and I don't think we're gonna have to wait too long for the next trailer, considering that Bill Training said that we're gonna get more updates throughout the year into next year. But the first shot we see here with the mouse slowly sleeping in is Link having his arm taken over by the malice. Now, this looks incredibly painful, and I think we can have some context going on, because you can see right here that Link actually has the Master Sword in his hand. And what I'm thinking is that Ganondorf, after waking up, sees Link with the Master Sword, and it's like, okay, nah, I'm not gonna be dealing with that this time, and sends some malice to take the sword away. Knowing Link, he's gonna hold on to that sword pretty tight. He's not gonna let it go, so instead he's gonna have to let go of his his own arm, because I'm pretty sure that Link is going to lose his arm. The malice, Ganondorf is gonna just rip it off and just take away the Master Sword from him one way or another, and that's going to be a very interesting way to start off, level 1 in Breath of the Wild 2. That seems really painful. My boy Link, oh man, it's gonna be crazy. And of course, him losing that arm is going to make a lot of sense when considering that Link is absorbing the power of the green arm from the previous trailer. I think we're going to get a little bit more context going forward with this trailer. Alright, with the next shot, we see the malice come faster and more potent, and then we see a shot here of Ganondorf, the fallen, or I should say the risen king of evil. And the thing about Risen that I feel is a little bit hanky-panky with Nintendo, or whoever is at the design team, is that we see a lot of holes around Ganondorf. And we see one literally right before his chest, above his stomach, a couple of holes there. And we see some holes in his palm and in his wrist. Now, if you follow any type of religion or Christianity, this seems a little too close to what's going on with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, because, and I mean that literally, not in a slang type of term, because we see Ganondorf with holes in his palm and in his wrist. Now, depending on the interpretation of how the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, or anyone who's crucified on a cross, goes, the nail can literally go through the palm or through the wrist, and here we see both. And the fact that Ganondorf has holes around his stomach area near his chest is a little too on the nose, I think, there, Nintendo. But I mean, it could just be coincidence, but really. Anyways, the actual thing that I think is going on with the holes with Ganondorf is that this is literally where the malice from his being leaks out of, as we've seen in the original Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. So that's probably what's going on with these holes. But, man, I'm just loving the design here of Ganondorf, and I just hope to see him in his prime, but it's cool to see him moving around. And then next, we have a shot of even more malice, literally layers upon layers of malice. As you can see here, another layer that just gets really angry of malice is on top of the other layer, and on top of another layer, like almost like a cheesecake, right? And here we see Zelda falling into the depths of the crevice of where they found Ganondorf, and we can see little hints of malice just in the air, whatnot. And this is more likely a continuation from a segment of the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer from E3 2019. And a lot of people has been, saying that this is the end of Zelda, this is Zelda's death. And, I don't think it's going to be that harsh, but I mean, at this point, Zelda is going to be lost. Zelda's going to be taken away from us. We're going to have to find her. Something's going to go down, but we all know that she is going down. But what's really cool about this trailer of how it's starting up is that we see the Triumvirate, the Triforce, the trilogy of characters. We see Link, Ganondorf, and Zelda, how it's always been, how it's always meant to be. Here we have courage. Here we have power. I said here we have power. And then, you know, of course, ending off with wisdom right here in a triangle, which is very interesting. And then as the screen cuts to black, we see here a beautiful shot of Link falling from the air, free falling into a new sky sea of clouds. Now, there's a lot to take in from here. Number one, he's free falling. I'm so glad that he's free falling because I felt that's one thing that was really odd to be missing from Breath of the Wild that was in Skyward Sword, that we can control our descent in a free fall style. You know, if you've played Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, it seems very similar to that. I hope we can truly, you know, control our descent. As we look closer to the island that Link is falling towards, we can see things like a golden tree. We can see a walkway obviously broken up by the pieces of land. And this may be a little bit of a lake or some sort of a dip, a crevice, a little crater within this floating isle. But of course, when we go closer to Link's design, we see that he's wearing a new type of clothing, a bit of a green robe that goes over his left shoulder. But here we see that Link has that new arm, but it's a bit dark. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit as we see that the arm is attached to his person, and we have some tattoos that seem to mirror the same color of his arm. Also, something else to notice is that his scabbard holder, the thing that holds the sheath of his sword, is a little bit different in design. It's not just a regular strap, it seems to have a little bit of a rivet going on and whatnot. And also, his hair is flowing free, his hair's down, but the thing is, you guys need to understand and remember, in the original Breath of the Wild, Link always had long hair, he just had it tied up. But of course, I do believe this means something when it comes to either interpreting the past, being in the past, or being someone of the past. But also, something to consider is that there's a lot of clouds going on, but in the distance, you can actually see a big structure of some kind hidden among the clouds. Maybe that is a point of interest that you're going to have to go to, possibly even a temple or a dungeon. As we continue this shot, we are in another sea of clouds that seem to be beautiful in the night sky. As you can see here, there are levels to the floating isles, and once again, nothing but golden trees. Here we can see Link with some arrows, with a bow, with an interesting looking shield, a different shield that we've seen before, and some cool new pants. I really like that pants. I mean, sure, in the previous shot where we see Link in shorts, or I don't know if those are underwears, tidy whities, or whatever, boxers, I like Link with this type of pants. I'm really liking this new design of what could be an ancient Link. Here we see him with a new glider and everything with some nice tassels. Oh, I'm thinking the tassels were added to, you know, show the more power of a Nintendo Switch, a game built specifically for a Nintendo Switch. Because if you remember, Breath of the Wild was indeed a port from a Wii U game, which won a bunch of Game of the Year awards, that's right. And as we see Link flowing through the sky, we see another huge structure in the distance, which could be akin to that of what we've seen previously, but it seems to be hidden by the clouds, something of importance. I don't know if that's going to be the case when we see the game actually in action in our hands, or if Nintendo's just adding clouds to, you know, cover it up for now. But can I say, seeing clouds in this technology, in the Breath of the Wild technology, is really nice, because we haven't really seen a lot of clouds this close and personal in the original Breath of the Wild game since we were on the land. But seeing this sea of clouds just rendered beautifully in this art style, I love it. I am in love with this. And then next up, this honestly has to be my favorite shot of the entire trailer. A golden sky, still with golden trees. And here we have a lot of stuff to take in. Link is still rocking that new pants, that new green tunic or robes, and he's running with that new arm with those tattoos on his body. You know, I love seeing the tattoos on Link's body, so I think I'm gonna be running around with this, you know, shirt, or maybe no shirt at all, in order to show off those nice tatted abs or something like that. And as we can see Link running in this nice, beautiful golden realm, you know, I really do believe that this might be this game's interpretation of the Sacred Realm, and the Triforce could be around here. Off in the distance on the land that Link is currently running on, you see some sort of roofing or a type of arch or something of interest that's gonna be all over this trailer, because on the island in the distance directly in front of Link, that's a little higher up, you can see another arch all the way over there. These arches could act as teleport points in order to get you from island to higher islands or lower islands in order to traverse these islands in the skies. Or they could be a new form of how you get to new forms of shrines. But check it out, if you look closely to the architecture from this angle, you can see that the patterns on the wall seem to match that of the patterns on Link's arm from his new arm and from the tattooing on his body. But honestly, looking at this part of the trailer, I cannot wait to get lost in the sauce in this scene. Here we have a new enemy of some sort, a new type of machine at the very least. Now there's a number of things to take away from this enemy. One, the eye seems to be very akin to the eye on Link's new shield. Two, it seems to be held together or at least powered by the new green energy that Link seems to be able to manipulate with his new arm. And even the architecture seems very similar to the bracers that surround Link's arm that shine gold in one of the trailers, but seem to be a little on the dark side, the brown side, when it's not active. And from the background, we can obviously tell a couple of things. One, that is up in the sky, and we can tell that by the golden trees that seem to be prevalent throughout this whole area. And you can see one of those arches in the background, and if you look closely, it seems there's a little green architecture within that of the stone of this arch. Enemy also seems to have a very weird symbol in the middle of its being, possibly something akin to that of a Zonai symbol. It seems to be a circle, possibly even a spiral, and it has that trademark green that is surrounding a yellow. And on this enemy, there are these two weird fruit, bloom, flower type things on its shoulders, and that's going to be very important that we're going to tackle later in this trailer. And as we continue on into this trailer, we return to the familiar land of Hyrule, on the ground at least. And from this shot or segment alone, we have a lot to take in. One, Link still has his new glider that we saw in the beginning of the trailer. Two, it seems that he's still gonna have the Hylian champion tunic combination that we saw in the original trailer, however, with some slight variations. One, he does not have the Hylian hood at all. Nintendo, bring it back with the hood down, please, thank you. And another cool thing to notice is that Link's arms, both of them, seem to have the Master Sword bracer that only his right arm, his Master Sword wielding arm, should have when it comes to the champion's tunic. So it looks like that the gauntlets from the Hylian tunic are going to get replaced. And where exactly is this familiar part of Hyrule? Well, after hunting around the land of Hyrule in the original Breath of the Wild, fending off Yiga members and guardians, I can pinpoint this as an area not too far off from the front of the Hyrule Castle Guard and a bit to the west of Hyrule Field. Just a bit of distance away from the Mabe Village and Ranch Ruins. And as you can see here from this trailer and the footage from Breath of the Wild, there are some structures in the distance that were not there originally. My guess is that there are gigantic chunks of debris that fell off when the Hyrule Castle was risen out of the ground. And also in the distance, you can notice that there are no divine beasts. From this shot alone, we should be able to see Varadunia and Varuta, but they're nowhere in sight, and no Sheikah Towers either. But enough about the geography. Check this out. It's a Bokoblin fort on top of a stone talus. Whoa, didn't see that coming. It looks like a job for some bomb arrows. But take a look at the Bokoblins. Their horns are a lot longer and hornier than they were in the original game. I got a simple theory for this. Since Bokoblins, Moblins, and Lizalfos seem to be powered by Ganon, Ganondorf, and the Calamity, it could be possible that now that Ganondorf has woken up and this furious red malice is now out and about in the world, that influence empowered all of the monsters in the world, thus giving them giant horns. Pretty much case closed. Alright, now we get to the juicy area of the trailer. Link's new green arm that we saw, that we thought, that we theorized from the first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Here we can see those golden armaments now attach themselves to Link's arm, and Link's arm is now glowing green. However, Link's nails on this arm seem to be on the long side. Hey, I'm not hating. You want to be fabulous? Work it. But it tells me that this arm wasn't originally his, because the green glowing arm from the first trailer had really long nails to it. Simply a sign of a disconnect. But as we can see here, when the arm is not active or it's done glowing, it goes to a very darkish, blackish, green forest-like color. And you can see it from the top that this arm seems to be a bit of an infection, a fusion, a tattooing into Link's own body. And a couple of other things that are really cool to note is that Link seems to be laying down on a slab on some sort of circular disc that has hieroglyphics or lettering in it. And it seems to be very akin to that of the lettering we saw in the first Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. And it seems to be very similar to what we see as a tablet in the original Breath of the Wild that a lot of people like to compare to the Mirror of Twilight. Also, Link seems to be naked from the point that we're seeing Link's shorts that are very similar to that of how we see his shorts in the original Breath of the Wild. Perhaps he's being operated on, he's being healed, the arm is speaking to him. It just tells me that currently he's in a point of recovery, especially if this takes place after the whole arm ripoff thing. And as the energy flows into his arm, you can see that there is some sort of a light show going between what could be the circuits of the bracers going in from his arm all the way down to his knuckles. And here we see the arm in action over in an area near Death Mountain. As a metal spike ball is rushing towards Link, Link activates his arm power, which seems to be an upgraded, expanded version of stasis that instead of freezing time, it reverses time and sends this ball back towards a couple of bokoblins and a moblin. Now that's what I call playing with power. Now check out the head of the moblin though. It seems that the horn of the moblin also changed, but it looks really weird. Like, what is that, a hat? Now this next shot is really cool. Here we see some sort of weird enemy that's attached to the top of a rock, and it seems to be very akin to that of an arm, or I would say a tendril from Jabu Jabu in Ocarina of Time. But after looking at it more, this could be an evolved and a very weird version of a like that returns to the Zelda series in Breath of the Wild 2. But that's not the only thing to take away from this shot. Here we have Link using a shield, but the shield has an attachment. This attachment seems to be very akin to that of a Zonai dragon head. There you have it, Zonai confirmed for Breath of the Wild 2, Zonai tech. I mean, check it out, you can even see the green eyes and the green mouth. But you know what? It's a flamethrower. And when it activates, you can even see the Zonai hieroglyphics on the side of the dragon's head light up. And here we can see this like get torched up, and yeah, it's kind of deaded. But we're not done with this area. It seems to be that of a dungeon room, and it seems to be an altar behind the like, so you're gonna have to get past it in order to get the goodies. And after killing this thing, I'm pretty sure a treasure chest is going to appear up. And even in the walls, you can see what seems to be the same lettering pattern that we see in the sky and is on Link's new arm that could be Zonai lettering. Now this scene is a bit odd. It's short and sweet to the point, but it shows a drop of water flow drop in reverse, which basically tells me time manipulation or time travel is gonna be a big thing in this game. And as we get to the next shot of the trailer, it shows Link using the power of the green arm with the green energy swirling around him is able to jump and literally dive into the ground underneath the next level of wherever he's at and dip out of it as if he was swimming through land. But it's not like he's jumping directly from the earth below. As you can see in the first couple of shots, he's jumping from another area right under this. That already seems like quite the power. I don't know if you're going to be able to go under or side to side, but as we know, we can go up. This might be a power that replaces Revali's Gale. This might be a power that could be expanded on in order to jump higher. We'll have to wait and see. And as we see this glorious set piece of more islands, more golden trees, we can actually see that this area is right above Thundra Plateau, which makes it so that these islands are not really that high above the ground. However, in the previous shots where we saw Link on the ground of Hyrule, we didn't see any islands in the air. I've had a theory before this video which you can check out in the description box below, which deals with two links being linked together between two different time periods, entering portals in time or dimensions in order to make these islands appear. But as we can see here, Link is actually right next to one of those altar temple looking things that we've been talking about and seeing throughout the trailer. Here you can see some flower-like orbs which seem to match up the orbs that we saw on that mysterious enemy earlier in the trailer, and if you look closely to the ground that is within this archetype area, it seems to be that of a circle-like pattern if not a spiral, which would go in line with Zonai technology or Zonai architecture. And like I said before, this could act as a teleportation point between islands, or it can act as an entry point to these new version of shrines in this game. It's going to be important. As you can see from the corner of my eye in this structure, you can see some sort of altar-like area in the corner of the shot. And as we end off the trailer, we see that Hyrule Castle is being pushed out of the ground, not by a mysterious force, no longer mysterious, but by Malice itself. A very red, angry, furious Malice is pushing Hyrule Castle, breaking it apart out of the ground. Now, it could be possible that not only is this power rising the Hyrule Castle grounds of this area up into the air, but it seems that it could have a spire connected to the ground still in the base of the castle. It could be either or possibly even both, but I'm leaning towards it just having the power rise the castle out of the ground in order to disconnect it from the land, because as I said before, in a theory, I believe that Ganondorf is trying to push this castle as far as he can up into the air in order to reach the heavens, aka the possible placement of the Triforce. And as we see the final shot of this trailer, we can see that the castle is floating, stable in the air, with an ominous version of Zelda's Lullaby playing in the background. This shot is taken from the east part of Hyrule looking towards the west, and we can see right here that there are no Sheikah towers, no Sheikah shrines in sight. And as it fades to black, we have the confirmation of a year placed for 2022 for this game, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. There was a lot to take in from this trailer, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something. Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe for more awesome Zelda content from your boy HMK moving forward. This is going to be hype. This is going to be great. So until the next Zelda video, big thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping making this happen. If you want to find out how you can support HMK with just $1 a month, find out in the description box below. Keep things hype, and I'll check you guys later.